of the 108 reservoirs here on the island of Cyprus, designed to capture and store what little rain falls during the winter months. Evretou is the third largest, with a colossal capacity of some 24 million cubic meters of water. But where is it? Now, at this particular point, I should be at least waist deep. But as you can see, the landscape closely resembles an Arizona desert. It is parched and it is cracked. The problem has been that the past 3 winters have been among the driest on record. This global trend, when twinned with increasing demand from industry, construction, the hotel and hospitality sector, could mean that this picture of absolute disparity will become commonplace for the foreseeable future. Join me as I take a closer look at the Cyprus water crisis. Well, many of you have seen the photographs of the woefully low reservoirs here on the island. So this morning, I'm off to see for myself. The winter rains that generally fall between December and February are such a lifeline to this island, to the farmers and the residents, the hospitality industry. It really is a much needed resource. Well, we journey on along this rocky road at Evretou in search of water, and I do believe we may get our first glimpse. And there it is, my friends, what remains of the Evretou reservoir. When you're standing here, it really does hit home, and boy does it hit hard. This colossal reservoir, the largest in the region, is now a pitiful puddle. It's almost impossible to believe that the village of Evretou was once flooded by the reservoir that is so far beneath it now. The tumbled down houses, the old schoolhouse and the mosque, are left high and dry now, and there are signs on the walls where the water level once was. So let's take a look inside. You can see what's left of the reservoir way beneath this old schoolhouse that is now home to several pigeons by the sound of it. But the water is so far in the distance, crikey. But it is inside this schoolhouse where you can see remnants of the water level in years gone by. There is staining on these walls all around this dilapidated property. Signs that the water once rushed inside here and completely rotted the floor away. Boy, do you get a view of that dried reservoir from this lofty position. At its deepest, the Evretou reservoir is some 70 meters deep, but it will be decades, I think, before this reservoir is ever full to capacity. And here it is, my friends, what remains of the Evretou reservoir. I should be so far underwater at this point. With severe drought, there is always the danger of wildfires, and the landscape around this reservoir at Argaka is a stark reminder. Fire raged through this region some 3 to 4 years ago, burnt for several days, and now on one side of this reservoir we have lush, pristine pine forest, and on the opposite side, bare, parched grassland. So it really does remind us of the awesome destructive power of fire, and also the drought. It really is some climb out of this reservoir, but I wanted to show you this line of vegetation and the debris strewn at such high levels is an indication of the potential capacity of the Argaka Dam, and the level way below us, a stark reminder of the desperate situation here on the island. Well, they say that money talks. Well, nowhere is that more evident than at the prestigious golf courses here in Cyprus, where the wealthy and the socially elite come to indulge themselves on these lush, exquisitely manicured greens that require massive amounts of irrigation during that scorching summer season. But throughout countless towns and rural villages on the island, where the average weekly wage is less than the price of a tank of fuel in those high-performance sports cars that visit these courses each and every day, is an entirely different story indeed. Whilst the sprinklers maintain those immaculate greens of the golf courses of Cyprus, here in the mountain villages, it is a picture of abject juxtaposition. These soccer pitches where the children once played are now sacrificed for the greater good, to preserve what little water is allocated to these rural communities. They are now dust bowls, and there is a scattering of weeds where the sound of laughter once filled the air. Further evidence of the social chasm between the wealthy and the everyday people of the island of Cyprus. Also here at the picture-perfect Pomos Dam, famed for its forests and sheer tranquility, I often come and sit on this dam wall to write, and it truly inspires me. But an equally woeful picture is painted here this morning. The water level would ordinarily be some 20 to 30 metres higher. The villages that this reservoir feeds, Pomos and Asprokremmos, will eventually feel the pinch. Now I'm going to attempt to make it down to the water's edge, but it is so far beneath me, it's going to be no mean feat. Down to the water's edge is incredibly steep, but the local fishermen have tied this rope to this tree with which to abseil down, so I shall take advantage myself. Well, that, my friends, really was some hike to make it down to the water's edge. Ordinarily, this point here would be under several meters of water. I can make out the rocks at the bottom of this reservoir, which really is a sad sight indeed. Although it seems like a vast amount of water, this really is a small lake when you compare it to years gone by. Whilst the holidaymakers within these hotels, resorts and complexes frolic in a seemingly limitless supply of water, they are blissfully unaware of the plight of the Cypriot population as a whole, who are forced to watch their crops wither and die, their livelihoods at stake, and their very lives too, for that matter. A visit to the Kanu reservoir this morning fills me with trepidation, because it is where the village of Drought, where I live and absolutely love, gets its water. So God only knows what I'm going to find up in those mountains this morning. The first glimpse you get of the Kanu reservoir is that colossal dam wall constructed to hold back a staggering 17 to 18 million cubic meters of water. But I very much doubt there is that much in the reservoir today. And here it is, the Kanu reservoir. And I was right to feel such trepidation on my journey here today. The site is one of complete and utter despair. The level should be many meters higher. My friends in the village of Drought are counting on this water. It really does pull on my heartstrings. I am praying for heavy, prolonged winter rain. I can see small islands that haven't been visible for many, many years. So I'm going to go down to the water's edge and take a closer look. This water is cool, fresh and sweet, just as it is when it reaches the village of Drought. But many birds and fish call this reservoir home too. So long may it rain this winter on the island of Cyprus and replenish these wonderful reservoirs. Because although it may seem like a vast ocean of water, once again, it is just a small lake when you take into consideration the consumption of the villages that depend on it, the hotels and the hospitality industry as a whole. Well, when leaving the Kanu reservoir, I have a huge lump in my throat because I know just how much my friends and neighbours depend on this water. Well, here it is, my friends, the jaw-dropping Asprokremmos reservoir. A vast, vast expanse here, but again, the water is woefully low. The second largest reservoir, as we said, only the Kouris reservoir in Limassol is larger than this at a staggering 115 million cubic meters of water. But boy, is this a sight. A huge crater in the ground here above Paphos airport. But again, woefully low. I can see sandbars in the bottom of the reservoir here. And I'm sure that the city of Paphos, the surrounding villages and the airport itself will be drawing vast amounts of this water day in and day out. Another of this island's ancient bridges, and on this rare occasion we can see this beautiful structure in its entirety. When the Asprokremmos reservoir is full to capacity, this bridge is underwater. So although it is a crisis with the reservoir being so low at the moment, we have small consolation in visiting this wonderful ancient monument. Well, my journey today to both Kanu and Asprokremmos, while being harrowing at the sheer lack of water in these enormous reservoirs, have also been a journey of wondrous discovery. Today, I'm off to Limassol to visit the daddy of them all, the mighty megastructure that is the Kouris Dam, capable of withholding a staggering 115 million cubic meters at peak rainfall. Half, in fact, of the 330 million cubic meters collected throughout the entire island. Now, on one hand, I'm super pumped and excited to see this dam, but on the other hand, I'm deeply concerned about what I might find. And here it is, my friends, the simply jaw-dropping Kouris dam and reservoir, stretching as far as the eye can see. You can just make out the layers where the water has receded down this enormous valley. It really is quite breathtaking to be standing here. This immense structure, hundreds of thousands of tons of concrete to hold back that 150 million cubic meters of water when the reservoir is full. But as you can see, it is woefully low, like the rest of the reservoirs here on the island. The reservoir was formed in 1984 when the Kouris River was dammed, and of course the water levels began to rise, capturing that precious rainwater that falls so infrequently here on the island of Cyprus. The Kouris Reservoir, when it's at its lowest in times of severe drought, reveals something rather special, just like that reservoir at Asprokremmos with that beautiful submerged Venetian bridge. So let's go and take a closer look. To reach this little gem at Kouris, I'm going to have to journey to the far end of this phenomenal reservoir around this meandering mountain road. But I'm looking forward to what we may find. And here is the little gem that I spoke of, the abandoned church of St. Nicholas. The village of Alassa once surrounded this church, but when the river Kouris was dammed, the village was condemned, so it was relocated further up the valley, leaving this lone building behind. This may seem just another unassuming relic here in Cyprus, but when you consider that the water level once rose to within 2 feet of the top of that bell tower, you really do get an idea of just how low the reservoir is now. It is many meters below us, and as I said before, receding fast. Here in the lofty bell tower of the Church of St. Nicholas, it is near impossible to believe that I would be a metre or so underwater if the Kouris Reservoir was now full to capacity. In a recent statement, Agricultural Minister Maria Panayiotou has expressed her own grave concerns over the severe water shortage here on the island of Cyprus, and has pledged to purchase 2 more mobile desalination units. Now personally, I don't think this is anywhere near enough, but on the other hand, I believe that this is now a global problem, so the demand for such technology will of course be at an all-time high. Ms. Panayiotou has also alluded to the prospect of cloud seeding over the island, a process adopted by many Arab countries. Now this involves distributing silver iodine throughout the clouds via airplane to aid in the formation of water crystals. But as well as the obvious price tag, this process has been described as hit and miss, because there is absolutely no guarantee where the water, if any, will actually fall, or if indeed there are any long-term health ramifications associated with this chemically induced rain. So in summing up, having travelled around much of this glorious island, I would like to say that I'm extremely optimistic for its reservoirs and for humanity as a whole. Rain will come and rain will go, as sure as night follows day, but only if we learn to live more ethically and to preserve this most precious of natural resources. Bye for now.